As we celebrate Pesach this week, we are reminded of the exodus from Egypt, from the oppression and tyranny of Pharaoh and his evil regime, to freedom and the ability to worship Hashem as we please. But just as the exodus of Moses and the Jewish people was not the first exodus in the Torah, so too was it not the last. Today, we face a different kind of evil, oppression and tyranny. We live in a time of great strife between those who uphold traditional values and those who have little to no moral values and seek to destroy everything good about traditional families, communities, and nations. The woke movement is a prime example of this atrocity. In Jewish tradition, a child is not responsible for their parents' sins, nor is a parent responsible for their child's sins. However, a child is affected to the third and fourth generation for a parent's sins, as the sins are projected onto the child as something permissible, and therefore corrupts them. It takes a few generations to understand the damage of the sins and correct them. We today are not responsible for the terrible sins our ancestors committed centuries ago. Those sins, such as slavery, were corrected and rectified over decades by freeing slaves and giving them equal rights under the law, by giving all citizens equal opportunity in achieving greatness or ruining their own lives. Just as the Jews after the Holocaust had the freedom to choose life and change their fate by working hard and not falling prey to victimhood, or choosing the easier path of seeking sympathy and dying. The woke movement seeks to blame individuals today for the supposed sins of their ancestors. This is a form of oppression and tyranny that we must fight against, for it is not only wrong, it is evil. The trans bandwagon is another form of recklessness and evil corrupting our youth today and expanding themselves across the West, taking the confused, ignorant, greedy, and self-righteous along with them for the ride and bringing actual death and destruction not only to themselves but to innocent children caught in their path. Passover signifies freedom from oppression and tyranny, and most importantly, from evil. We have to banish the evil within us and external to us. God gave us freedom in our will to choose to follow Him or not, to do the right by Him or to go down the wrong path. There is no government or person that has the God-given right to force anyone to do anything. I only hope that by way of example and teaching, all of Am Yisrael will follow the way of Hashem and not bend to the will of anti-moralistic heathens and governments who are trying to step into areas they have no right to get involved in. As we enter Leil Haseder, let us remember the importance of individual and communal strength. Let us remember that when Moshe and Aharon came to Pharaoh the first time, Pharaoh inquired as to why they even cared about the Jewish nation when they themselves could go and do as they pleased. And learn from the greatest of our leaders that we must fight for the well-being of every Jew, even if we ourselves are not in danger. Let us fight the woke movement or any other form of tyranny or oppression from taking away our freedom to uphold traditional values. Let us remember the importance of family and community in upholding these values. The altar in the tabernacle symbolized the heart, and just as the fire on the altar must never go out, so too our passion and fire for God, Bezrat Hashem, never be extinguished. Let us make time for prayer, Torah study, and acts of kindness, actively seeking ways to connect with Hashem and keep our hearts burning with passion for Him. This requires commitment and perseverance to maintain our spiritual fire even in the face of challenges and distractions. To bring godliness into our lives, let's strive to be the best versions of ourselves, upholding traditional values and doing what is right in the eyes of Hashem. This is what Passover signifies: freedom from oppression and tyranny, and the ability to make, with God's help, the correct choices. Stand strong in your beliefs and don't let the woke movement or any other form of oppression or tyranny take away your freedom to uphold traditional values and live according to Hashem's Torah. Banish the evil within as well as the external evil we encounter, and keep your passion and fire for Hashem burning in your hearts. That is why we recall the story of the Exodus. That is why we have survived as a nation for 4,000 years. That is why, come Leil Haseder, every Jew should rid their house of leavened bread, put away their day-to-day work, games and electronics and sit around the table with their families and retell the tale of how it's possible to defeat evil by having faith in Hashem. May Hashem bless all of Am Yisrael and grant us the strength to fight on. Chag Kasher V'Sameach.